it's now time to welcome back Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains and Penrith for our weekly finance segment. Good afternoon, Rob.
Good afternoon, Vent. Good afternoon, Heather.
Rob. Good to see you here.
Good to be here again.
So you've got the first question there, Heather.
Oh, have I?
Yes.
So, Rob, what's the latest housing and finance news?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had an update on what's happening generally in the housing and finance market. Most of us would probably be aware that house prices are still going up, and that's what the stats are telling us as well. But not across all the capital cities. So only Sydney, Melbourne and Darwin and Brisbane have increased. Sydney's increased by 14% in the last year.
Wow.
Melbourne 8%, Darwin 7%, Brisbane 6%, which is good because I bought in Brisbane about 3 months ago. So good news there.
When's the housewarming party?
It's not built yet. It was off the plan, one of those off-the-plan properties.
Oh.
But it means it's already gaining value, which is good. But house prices have slowed. So while there's still an increase going on, the rate in which house prices are growing has slowed down a little bit, which because it just couldn't go on forever. So that's probably not a bad thing. Also, just on CPI figures for the end of September, the CPI increased by 0.5% over the last quarter and 2.3% over the last 12 months. So that's well within the Reserve Bank's target range of between 2 and 3%. So that's probably not a bad thing. And I think we're going to talk about, actually, what I was going to share too, just because obviously for those of us here in the mountains, I did a few reports on some of the local areas. So particularly here in the Blue Mountains, the medium house price at the moment's risen to about $471,000.
Is that right across the mountains?
That's right across the mountains.
Okay.
The medium price was around about $450,000 12 months ago. Individual areas, I had this one for Diane because she was interested in Wentworth Falls.
I'm Wentworth Falls, so
Wentworth
yeah,
Falls
I'm
too.
interested in Wendy.
So $586,000 medium house price. Now, with medium house price, it can vary a little bit because it depends on the stock that's being sold.
Yeah.
But September was a very good month for medium house prices. So $586 for Wentworth Falls, $503 for Katoomba, and where I live in Blaxland, $615,000.
Gee,
So it's been pretty
Wow.
strong here in the mountains.
Yeah, it certainly has. Okay, so what does all this mean then for potential property buyers and vendors?
Yeah, well, I think for buyers, things have slowed down a little bit. It's still a heated market, but it does mean, and there's more stock on the market as well, so it's not quite as hard to buy as it has been, but it still is difficult. And for my clients that I'm speaking to all the time, there's still multiple buyers looking at properties. Properties are still going very, very quickly and are usually selling above what they're being listed for. For vendors, it's still a great time to sell because you can still expect a very good price for your property with the lack of supply and the number of buyers that are out there.
Well, all good news. Good news all around, pretty much.
Yeah, unless you're a buyer.
Unless you're a
buyer, because you've got to pay
without
top
anything
dollar.
to sell
That's
first.
Right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
And it probably means too for those who are looking to invest. If you are wanting to invest in property and you want to use equity in your property, it is a very good time, and it's probably not a bad idea to get a valuation on your property, and you'll be surprised at what it's worth.
Okay, let's go to a music break now. Here's Canon in D Major by Pachelbel.
And I'd like to thank you, Heather, for bringing some classical music along today. This is the first time we've played classical music on the show.
Well, mix it up a bit.
Indeed, and it's about time too. So here's Pachelbel's Canon.
And that was Canon in D Major by Pachelbel. Oh, right, sorry, lost my place there. Now we're back with Rob Lees. Rob, what about interest rates and what can we expect when the Reserve Bank meets tomorrow for its monthly review of interest rates?
It is
on
hard.
Melbourne Cup Day.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, and
It's hard to
does the
move,
meeting include placing bets?
Yeah.
Are they running a sweep?
Well, I'm sure there's someone out there that's doing that. It's interesting to note that in the last 10 years, the Reserve Bank of Australia have increased interest rates 6 times on Melbourne Cup Day in the last 10 years.
Always on Melbourne Cup
so
Day.
they seem to like increasing interest rates on Melbourne Cup Day, although the pundits are saying it's very unlikely, particularly given that our CPI index is still within the target range of between 2 and 3%.
So they might break
So,
fall this year.
I've got here, RP data, for example, is saying there's a 95% likelihood of no change to interest rates, even though we've been at the same interest rate since August last year. So I'd agree. I don't think there's enough room there to increase rates at this stage.
Okay, so is it still a good time to lock in a fixed interest rate?
Yeah, it's. I think it's still worth considering. I think that certainly interest rates are still bouncing along the bottom. I think 5-year interest rates are still very competitive, with a lot of the banks offering 5 years fixed at 4.99. Some of them went very low on the 3-year fixed rates and even 1-year fixed rates, and some of those have come back up again. So that's probably a bit of an indication. I don't know that these fixed rates will stay this low for much longer. So I think if you're going to do it, now's a good time to do it. But as I'd always say, before you lock in a fixed rate, have a conversation with someone about it, check out your circumstances, because if you are going to sell your property or discharge the loan during a fixed rate period, you could incur break costs. So, so just be careful, but look into it. Now's a good time to do that.
Careful how you go and grab it while the going's